There are lasers. Naomi Williams teaches music.
Friendly and approachable and into mythical creatures. Tell me who you are.
As I would say on my podcast, hello, gals, pals, and gentle thems. I am Allie. My pronouns are she/her. I have been a music student with Naomi for a very long time. I'm one of the original basement brigade.
It was pre me teaching professionally.
At some point, we're getting t-shirts.
How would you describe yourself?
I'm sort of a jack of all trades, master of none. If there's an activity, I've probably tried it. Many of them have not stuck as long as voice lessons. I like to try new things. I'm an adventurous person. I'm a cat mom. I'm a professional human spouse. We're coming up on 14 years married in September. We don't have grass. We have wildscape, so we planted bee turf, which is for pollinators, and we planted lots of flowers that are like white and purple and yellow, so we have a pollinator garden.
You are a garden saver and a bee saver and person who cares about people.
I would consider myself a hypothetical cheerleader because I don't have the outfit.
Also a comedian.
Occasionally. And an excellent MC if anybody is looking.
One of the biggest hurdles in singing was learning how to master the introducing thyself and thy song without like wanting the ground to swallow you up. So I find this really interesting. Like as an MC, you would be talking in front of crowds all the time. What was it about introducing yourself that felt so uncomfortable?
When you're MCing or when you're playing a character, like, it's not you that people are looking at. Burlesque is much the same. Like it's an alter ego, it's someone else, it's like a character that you've created. And to be open and vulnerable in introducing your song and then performing as yourself is quite challenging when you're not used to it and you're not necessarily comfortable with like letting people in that way. The way that you explained it was very helpful. And that changed a lot for me because for the musical theater stuff, you're like, these people have never seen the show. The audience members may not even be familiar with musical theater at all. So you kind of have to give them like a little cheat sheet of what's about to happen. Otherwise, they're going to be like, this is just a pretty song and it doesn't really mean anything else. This is the people's first introduction to you. They don't know anything about you. They don't know your story. They don't know what part of your story you're bringing to the performance today. They might not know the artist. They might not know the style. They might not know the song. And if you don't help them, they're going to be really confused. This year, I think people got a little bit creative with the way that they introduced their songs. A lot of people said why they chose the song, which I thought was really great because like we don't often share that bit. Like we share it with you because you're our teacher. When we bring the songs to you, we say this is why I'd like to choose this song. This is why it's meaningful to me. But like there was somebody who was like, I just liked it. And I thought that that was really nice because you can sing songs that you like. It doesn't have to be more than that. Or there were people who were like, this song like just really connected. I really connected with the feeling of this song. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try something new.
This felt more personal. And when things are more personal, we show up more like ourselves. And then we endear ourselves to an audience and just be natural and honest and real. That's like one of my values.
I think that the way that you had structured it, the way that you get us to present ourselves in all of the recitals that I've been from the very first one, is that yes, it is terrifying to be vulnerable, especially when you're first coming out. But like some of the kids did it better than some of the adults. Like you could see that they were more chill and comfortable. But it's also like very grounding in the moment because you're not just jumping right into the song. Like you have a minute to talk to the audience, to connect with them, and then to like gather yourself. Super important. Having been involved with all different kinds of performance, like music, dance, burlesque, theater, it is such an underrated and underdeveloped skill to present yourself that way. I remember this from when I was a little kid and I used to go to these basically cattle call Missoula children's theater auditions. And they would put you all in the gymnasium of the school. They would line you up around the edges. And the first round was you had to introduce yourself. And you had to do it with like zhuzh and enthusiasm because you wanted them to look at you and say, this is a kid who's like got star quality. I hated it. But that's so important because when you introduce yourself and you make eye contact, connect with people, it might set you apart in like an audition scenario. It might set you apart in like people's memories of watching the performances. And someone who just wasn't giving anything back to the audience and was like only taking what the audience was giving to them.
What has been one of your most memorable teaching moments with me?
I could not for the life of me do this. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't do it. And you worked and worked and worked with me until one day it just clicked. All of the things with the straw and the water glass, which I was just like, I hate this so much, but like also it's super valuable. The vocal equivalent of broccoli.
Yes, very high in folate. Those are called semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, or SOVTs for short. It's weird stuff. It's so good for the voice. What has been your favorite song that you've sung in your lessons, or songs, just because you've been here so long?
This is a very, very hard question to answer because I have sang so many songs and so many different songs. I'm going to say I love What Bacon Can Do. I love The Wizard and I. And I also really loved learning I Have Confidence from The Sound of Music. That song was so hard. And I felt so cheated that it was COVID in 2020 and like we did that Songfest like just before everything fully shut down because I worked so hard and I was so proud of how that all went and all the work that went into it and the final product of it. And then it was just like
That's right, you did it. You were like the last day too. That was the last day of Songfest. And then I think everything shut down a couple days later. I forgot we did I Have Confidence, and now I remember it vividly. It was so fun to do that song with you. What has been your favorite studio performance?
Mine or someone else's?
That's actually a really good question. Because you've added it, you can tell me, but I want to know your like personal one, and then yeah, tell me your favorite one from somebody else.
Specifically, regardless of what happened afterward, I loved fully costuming and performing as Alphaba at BroadMAY last year. Performing The Wizard and I in full green paint. And then that you had scheduled me and Kathy to have that like little moment on stage where she came out and I was like, we were both looking at each other like,
Actually,
"Ooh."
Linda.
It was so good. It was so fantastic. I love that. That was such a fun, fun time. My like other favorite was working with Tracy on For Good to put that video out.
Is available on the YouTube channel. If you just look up For Good BroadMAY, you will see it. Okay, what was your favorite performance from another person? I love that that popped into your head.
There are so many wonderful people in the studio that I've had the privilege, I'm gonna cry, that I've had the utmost privilege to watch develop as singers and artists over the time that I've been learning from you. But I think my favorite ever was when Jeff sang House of the Rising Sun and the whole band picked up with him, and it was just like I got chills and I got goosebumps, and I was so excited for him to get to have his like full rock star moment. Getting to see Sean, the last recital that he did where he performed in like French and German, and his like pronunciation was just so crisp and so clear, and then like learning later that he's like a big like fancy opera guy with a master's degree, and I also think that Rebecca is incredibly talented, and to get to hear her share her original music, like sometimes when you see someone and they perform, you're like, whatever it is that makes someone a superstar, this person has that thing. She's done all kinds of things, and I just think she's wonderful.
So how do you think taking voice lessons has impacted you positively outside of the voice studio?
That it's okay to take up space and to use your voice. This is like a much deeper thing than voice lessons because that's something that I've always struggled with. Like, I've never had a lot of trouble performing. I had terrible stage fright as a child, but I never had a problem like actually going out on stage and doing the performance itself. That's one of the things that I learned. What does my voice sound like? Finding my own authentic voice, and then in my own life has helped me feel way more comfortable speaking up for myself in professional situations, speaking up for myself in friendship situations. Part of the thing is that your studio has very specific guiding values and principles, and you're always working to include people and make space for people who may or may not necessarily traditionally have space in vocal performance and voice lessons. Like, you're welcoming and you're all encompassing, and there's nobody that would be excluded. So that's also inspired me in my own life to be like, you need to consider these things more. We need more voices to speak up and to make this a richer experience in whatever sphere I'm in to uplift people. The compliments that we do at the end of every year, that's such a changing experience because instead of looking for ways to knock people down and tell them what they're doing wrong, you're looking for ways to tell them the things that are beautiful. And that kind of shifts the way that you look at stuff if you do it enough.
I'm reading a puppy book and you need to positively enforce that puppy. And people are very bad at this. I know that that compliment exercise is actually very difficult.
It's very difficult. It's very challenging. It feels very uncomfortable at first because we're so used to like picking out the bad. But like recently in my like professional life, I'm like mentoring someone. And one of the things that I had said to this person was, hey, like we're gonna do a little review. I would like for you to think of the things that you are finding challenging so that we can like address them and figure out how to solve the problems and make it easier for you or get you the training that you need to like be less challenged by these things. But I also want you to think of 3 things that you think you're doing really, really well because you also need to recognize you are good already. We're just trying to make you more comfortable and feel like better and to build your skills.
That's amazing. That made me really happy. I will cry just by asking this question. What was it about lessons here that made you want to keep coming back? You came back for a decade. It's amazing.
I don't think my answer is gonna not make you cry.
Well, I'm already crying, so it's fine.
But it was coming back to learn from you. It's so difficult as an adult to put yourself out into an uncomfortable position, to learn something new in adulthood, and to not let it being hard stop you from pursuing it. Coming every week to your studio to be with you, to learn from you, to know that the person who is teaching me is always in my corner, always wants me to succeed. And that if something's not working, we'll address it. Or if I'm not feeling a particular piece of music, we'll find something different. And you're always like offering performance opportunities and workshop opportunities. And then like you're saying, like, try a competition, try an exam. Like, yeah, those things are hard, but I think you can do that. And to have someone like that in my life has been like a beautiful and rare thing. That was one of the things that made the decision to move forward with other goals really, really hard because I didn't want to not have that. I had to learn to sing twice from you. When I was like physically not capable of doing that, we found another way to have music and to learn, which also has turned out to be such a valuable addition to my skill set as a performer. I'm sitting at my desk right now with my rollout keyboard tray.
Last year, when you were spending a lot of time still online, just how excited you would get when you would be like, okay, a G chord, that's this, right? And I'd be like, yeah. And you would just light up because I know that that was something that you didn't think you could do. Thank you for being an inspiration to many adults who have joined the studio because they've seen you.
That was a very interesting thing to learn. You know, I had a mom tell me, we saw you at BroadMAY, and we decided after we saw you perform that Naomi was going to be the right teacher for our family. And I was like, cool, I'm going to go cry forever now.
You don't have to be perfect to have impact. Seeing people be brave and imperfect is far more impactful than some slick, perfectly packaged A+ thing. I mean, there's space for everything in this world, but this is our little community.
You said, like, yeah, there's space for everyone, but I think you as a teacher are creating an environment where people can become authentic performers in a way that algorithms don't allow room for at this moment in music. I think that's beautiful.
Love you, Ali. Because this is one of the things I'm going to miss about you, Ali, are these cool things that you bring in. Look at that necklace. Show us again. Tell us where it's from.
So this is a Pegasus, and it is by a company called Erstwilder, which is a company out of Australia that makes like brooches and earrings. I get them through a shop in Edmonton that sells on the website retroglam.com. I'm not sponsored by them. This is not sponsored content. I just happen to love them. They're lasers.